Welcome back to the Iowa Beef Collective. I'm Patrick Wall, and I'm here with a stock dog legend, if you will. Ron Kilstrom is here with me, and we are about as unscripted as we can get. It is stock dog trial day here at the Iowa State Fair, and I thought it would be great to do a quick episode on what the stock dog trials are and kind of what it involves. I'm a border collie enthusiast myself. My son has a dog we use around cows. So introduce yourself to the audience, kind of who you are, where you came from, and how you got into the stock dog game, if you will.
All right. Well, I'm Ron Kilstrom from Madrid, Iowa. I've been in the sheep business since I was 9 years old and have had border collies for, I think, 44 years now. So, and we've done, in the past, I've did some trialing and stay active, help down here at this trial every year. And it's, I got a crew we put together, I don't know, probably 15 years ago. And my daughter used to bake pies for the contest. And after the contest, she'd bring all the pies up here and we'd eat them. So now that's a tradition. There's a pickup sitting out there with the front seat full of pie that we're all waiting for.
Excellent. So I've tried, we're here every year with Herefords, and it's an off day for us, and I try to go watch, every year for a while, and it's a fascinating event. Talk about, the stock dog trial that happens here. What are the judges looking for? What scores well? What doesn't? Timing of the event, things of that nature.
All right. Well, what we're trying to simulate at these trials, regardless of if it's an arena trial like this one or an open field trial, we're trying to simulate what we need these dogs to do at home. If you got a bunch of calves or ewes out on a pasture, out in a stock field, and you need to bring them to the house, then that's where the outrun comes in. You can send this dog for 100 feet in the arena around the calves or sheep, or you can send them around 160 acres to gather them up. And then when it comes to putting them through a gate, we've all tried that.
Yep.
So there's 2 gates that they have to go through usually, and keeping control, keeping everybody from going around them instead of through them is a deal. And then of course at the end there's the penning, which again we have all tried to do by hand. And then in the open trials, I don't know what the cattle guys do, but in the open sheep trials, we have what's called the shed. And what they'll do is have 4 ewes out there, and the dog is to come through those 4 and split 2 of them off, and then keep them separate for a certain length of time. And it simulates whether you got that calf out there in the stalks that's standing there with his ears down and he's looking at the ground. Well, you need that dog to be able to go out there, sort that calf off, bring him up, put him in the trailer. So this is a recreation of what we do at home every day here.
Excellent. And I assume it's a timed event. The faster they can do it is...
Yeah, time is a factor. I think it's only maybe 20% of the score, but it is a factor. Time is valuable at home, too.
Sure. So talk about the score itself. What segments are there? What scores well, what doesn't, for someone that's just watching the trial in front of them.
Right. Well, it's, as you said, it's a timed event. So when the dog leaves your side, the timer starts. There's points for what's called the outrun. The stalk is always at the other end of the field or the arena, and how the dog goes out to gather them will determine your points. You don't want a dog that makes a beeline right for the stalk because he spooks them right off the bat, just like he would at home. So you want a dog that makes a good curving outrun out around to get behind the stalk. That's a point segment. And then what's called the lift is where the dog approaches the livestock. Some guys will take their dog out, lie him down, get things situated, and then bring the dog up to the stalk. Some dogs just go out, naturally slow their gait down, and just ease up on the stalk and lift them. Then there's so there's points there. And then there's points for what's called the drive, which is the dog is to keep the stalk on line directly back to the handler. How much the stalk variates back and forth will lose you some points. The judge will determine whether you're to rotate around the post left or right, clockwise or counterclockwise. And then you head for the first gates, which are usually to your left. Again, the dog is supposed to drive that stock on a straight line to the gate, through the gate. And then the dog is supposed to back up, make a run to the left, which, by the way, we call come by.
Yep.
Clockwise is come by. Way to me is counterclockwise. So you hear those commands. That's what they are. Anyway, the dog comes by, drives the stock across the arena or the field through either a second set of gates or into a chute. Some judges use what they call the Maltese cross, which is 8 gates set up in a cross, and the dog has to take them down one chute, around the corner, and back through the second chute, which is tough.
Really difficult.
It's tough. At all this time, the handler is standing at the post. He cannot move. He has to stand there. So then there's points for the cross drive, and then usually from the cross drive directly to the pen. And of course, the pen is points. Some judges put more weight on that, as I think they, in my opinion, they should. That's what we're here to do, is get these animals somewhere so we can do something with them.
Yep.
And then on the open sheep class, the sheep come back out of the pen, and the dog, there's a circle out there that the sheep have to stay in, and the dog has to split them and separate them. Now, the cow guys do something entirely different. I know they've got chutes and gates and cross drives. I am not familiar. I'm in the sheep business, not the cow business. So they have a whole different set of rules and points. But that's what we do in the sheep trials.
Awesome. And so I guess, from a dog standpoint, is it a different kind of dog or different breeding that works better on sheep versus cattle?
Well, yes, I believe so.
I have, in my experience, I have found that. That's why I'm asking.
I have a group of friends down in southern Iowa that, of course, that's big cattle country. And so those guys have bred dogs to work cattle. And the one thing that I truly believe that the registry should be split. I think the dog should be classified either as a cow dog or a sheep dog. The guys down there are actually trying to breed the eye out of a border collie. One of the master traits that the border collie has in my business is they can look an old ewe in the eye and back her clear across the pasture. That doesn't work with a cow.
Right.
You can't look her in the eye because she's looking, who knows what she's looking at.
Yep.
So in order to keep those dogs from locking up on those cows and not getting anything accomplished, they've kind of bred what they call a loose-eyed dog. So they don't lock up with that eye on the cattle like they do on the sheep. So, yeah, it's a the one thing I admire them for, those cattle guys, they've tried to breed short hair into these dogs because they don't like taking care of them.
Yeah.
And in the sheep business, I like a long-haired dog because 90% of our work's in the wintertime.
Yeah.
I need a dog that can go out there when it's 12 below and work and not get cold. So
I'm a genetics guy by trade, so I'm going to ask questions about genetics. Come
here and ask.
Breeding these dogs, is it a tight line breeding? Do they cross lines? Is there a method to the madness in breeding a better border collie?
Insanity. That's the method. I'm not too much on line breeding myself. I think if you take two good dogs and breed them to each other, you get a good dog. Now, having said that, I understand the need for some line breeding. You got some characteristics, just like these guys trying to breed this eye out of these dogs. They've done some line breeding to make that happen. You got to find that the border collie that wasn't worth a dang 30 years ago because he didn't have an eye is now a valuable dog.
Right.
And they've used that. I don't know if the line breeding is a terrible thing. I don't care for it, but that's just me. I think the guys that know what they're doing, understand genetics like you do, can probably manage that and do a good job of it. I can't. I don't know enough about it.
So, from a registry standpoint, the stock dog registry, is there pedigree tracking? Is there a location that keeps track of these dogs? And, what part of the registered business, if you will, is the stock dog what role do they play, or are a lot of these dogs unregistered that are here?
Well, no, I'd say most of these dogs that are here are registered. Most of these people are breeding dogs to sell or to use, and that's the ABCA, the American Border Collie Association. I to tell you the truth, I can't tell you for sure. They've been out of Mississippi for 50 years. I'm not sure if they're still there or not, but there was an old gal down there that did all the registry for that. Now, there is the IDIS, which is the International ISDS, International Stock Dog Society, and that's where most of your dogs from the UK will be registered through. I believe dogs from here can be registered in that. This little dog I got right here, she came out of two imported dogs, so she had her folks both had ISDS papers, and she's got ABC papers. So
I am also a connoisseur of hunting labs, British hunting labs. I know how that overseas thing can work, and it's not always a dual direction type of thing. So I get what you're saying.
I tell you, those fellows over there are serious. If you get a set of papers from the ISDS, it's I believe I got her mother's papers. I believe she's 7 generations back in them papers. That's serious stuff.
Yes. So we talked a lot about borders. Are there any other dog breeds here?
Oh yeah, there'll be somebody that'll usually there's somebody in the cattle business or in the sheep that run a Kelpie. I think they're a good dog. I think if you're the right person for a Kelpie dog, you can get a lot of work done with them. They're tough. And then there's some Australian Shepherds. A couple of years ago, a fella came to me. I trained an Australian Shepherd and her son, and they didn't turn out to be bad stock dogs. If you're just looking for something to work around home with, they're a good dog. They'll work.
So I guess the question that a lot of folks will probably want to know: a good trained border. What are they worth?
Well, of course that's all over the place. But if you're looking for a dog that's a year and a half, 2 years old, trained, ready to go home, go to work, I'd say you're looking at somewhere between $10,000 and $20,000. And of course, everybody sucks a bunch of air when they hear that.
That's why I asked. I didn't know.
Okay, I'll tell you this: if you're working cattle every day or you're working sheep every day, I'll guarantee you that dog will do as much work as 3 hired men. And each one of those will cost you more than $20,000 a year.
Yep.
And as Master Black says, they never call in sick and they never come to work drunk. So what's it worth?
Yeah. I knew the number would be high. That's even higher than what I thought maybe. But when you put it in terms of getting rid of an employee, that's big money. And right now in the livestock industry especially, labor is the number one limiting factor for a lot of us.
Because there isn't any.
Correct.
Yep. As I've gotten older, I say it now seriously. If I couldn't have a border collie, I'd be calling the trucks.
Yeah.
I'm not going to try to do this by myself. I'm not up to it.
Awesome.
As a matter of fact, I think she's going to get a companion maybe this winter. I don't know. She's 7 years old. She's like me. Yep. She's starting to get just a little slow, and she could use some help. So could I. So,
yep. And that was probably my next question. It's 1.5 to 2 years to get them up and rolling. How long do you expect a good border to last?
I tell you what, I hate to say this because it sounds like I was terrible, and it's not true. I just did what they wanted. I've wore some dogs out at 10, 11 years old, 12 years old. They've had about all they want, and I let them self-retire at home. We used to run 6, 7, 8 border collies all the time, and there'd be that morning, you'd go out on the porch, get everybody rounded up, get ready to go to work, and that old dog would just lay right there on the porch and watch you go. And that's the day you knew that they're going to start drawing Social Security here. And I let them. They're free to do whatever they want for the rest of their lives. They've given me the best part of theirs, so they can have theirs, and I'll take care of them to the best of my ability until then. Now, having said that, again, being the age I am, I have made great use of the last few years of an electric golf cart. I take that thing from the house to the barn all the time, out to the pasture. And when I got this young dog here, I thought, this is a little ridiculous. I'm riding and she's running and I'm wearing her out for no reason. So she's trained. When I get on the golf cart, she gets on the golf cart, because every step I save her now is going to be a step that she can use later on and not hurt doing it. So I tell you what, they're an asset.
Yeah.
It'd be like not changing oil in your new pickup.
And that's one thing about our border I have noticed is they'll go hard, but they do have a limit, and that you can't work them all day, and especially in some inclement weather like summer.
Yep.
You have to be wary of how long they're out there, but they will give you everything they got for a long time.
I've had border collies that would take care of themselves. I had an old dog named Callie she was an imported dog. She was an excellent dog. And when she'd had enough, she would just quit on you and go find a tank and get cooled off, and then back she'd come. This dog here, I have to take her to a tank.
Yeah.
I have to keep an eye on her. This time of the year is terrible. She's not a good hot weather dog. And when I see the signs, I take her to a tank, make her lay down, get cooled off, and then we'll go again. They'll go until they can't go. There's those individuals within the breed that'll run themselves to death.
Yeah.
They'll die right in front of you.
Well, I know we're on a bit of a time crunch here. You are about to go participate in the trial, so I won't keep you here very long. But I saw an opportunity, and I thought, man, we can't pass this up. I know there's so many folks that are interested in stock dogs, and there's probably nothing better than a good stock dog. I don't think there's anything worse than a bad one. They're in the way. They're just it's worse than having no dog at all. But
here I'm going to say one thing. I'll make some people angry right here. There ain't nowhere near as many bad stock dogs as there are bad stock dog handlers. Okay,
I wouldn't doubt that a bit.
99 times out of 100, the training on the handler is harder than the training on the dog.
Yeah.
So they all have a place. I've had dogs that wouldn't do much for me. My son would take them, work just fine. Vice versa. I've gotten dogs from people that said, take him. I don't want him. He doesn't know anything. Well, you give them a different handler and a different outlook on life, and all of a sudden they're a super dog.
Yep.
So you got to get the right combination, and I ain't always the right combination for the dog, and vice versa, So just put your ego away and start looking at the facts, take the emotions out of it, start looking at the facts of the matter, and you'll be all right.
Yeah. And my son's dog is 100% his, and I'm okay with that. He uses him for what he needs to use him for, and it's a great deal. So we appreciate you joining us here on the Iowa Beef Collective, and we'll let you get back to the stock dog trial here at the Iowa State Fair. But thank you for joining us, and good luck to you.
Thank you.
To the audience, a good topic, and one that I know our audience will certainly be interested to hear more about. But thanks for joining us on the Iowa Beef Collective.
This institution is an equal opportunity provider. For the full non-discrimination statement or accommodation inquiries, go to www.extension.iastate.edu/legal.